Good morning. All right. This is the Book of Jasher, and we are on chapter 43. The last two chapters have been about Joseph, and about how, after being sold into slavery twice, to understand why the Ishmaelites and Midianites are in the same story from Genesis. They are now selling him off to the Egyptians, because the Ishmaelites are like, this kid's more trouble than he's worth, because like mother, like son, persecuting the son results in trouble for the people who do that. But also Joseph wept on the grave of his mother, and his mother told him to rely on the Lord. Great lesson. Very touching. So yeah, that's where we're at, is Joseph being sold into Egypt. And when the sons of Jacob had sold their brother Joseph to the Midianites, their hearts were smitten on account of him, and they repented of their acts, and they sought for him to bring him back, but could not find him. And Reuben returned to the pit in which Joseph had been put, in order to lift him out and restore him to his father. And Reuben stood by the pit, and he heard not a word, and he called out, "Joseph, Joseph," and no one answered or uttered a word. And Reuben said, "Joseph has died through fright, or some serpent has caused his death." And Reuben descended into the pit, and he searched for Joseph, and could not find him in the pit. And he came out again. And Reuben tore his garments, and he said, "The child is not there. How shall I reconcile my father about him if he be dead?" And he went to his brethren and found them grieving on account of Joseph, and counseling together how to reconcile to their father about him. And Reuben said to his brethren, "I came to the pit, and behold, Joseph was not there. What then shall we say unto our father? For my father will only seek the lad from me." And his brethren answered him, saying, Thus and thus we did, and our heart afterward smote us on account of this act, and we now sit to seek a pretext, how we shall reconcile our father to it. And Reuben said unto them, "What is this you have done to bring down the gray hairs of our father in sorrow to the grave? The thing is not good that you have done." And Reuben sat with them, and they all rose up, and swore to each other not to tell this thing unto Jacob. And they all said, "The man who will tell this to our father or household, or who will report this to any of the children of the land, we will all rise up against him and slay him with the sword." This is not good. This type of oath, no. Covering one's sins? Yeah, no. And the sons of Jacob feared each other in this matter, from the youngest to the oldest, and no one spoke a word, and they concealed the thing in their hearts. And they afterwards sat down to determine and invent something to say to their father Jacob concerning all these things. And Issachar said unto them, "Here is an advice for you, if it seem good in your eyes, to do this thing. Take the coat which belongeth to Joseph, and tear it, and kill a kid of the goats, and dip it in its blood, and send it to our father, and when he seeth it, he will say, An evil beast hath devoured him. Therefore tear ye his coat, and behold, his blood will be upon his coat, and by your doing this we shall be free of our father's murmurings." And Issachar's advice pleased them, and they hearkened unto him. And they did according to the word of Issachar, which he had counseled them. And they hastened, and took Joseph's coat, and tore it. And they killed the kid of the goats, and dipped the coat in the blood of the kid, and then trampled it in the dust. And they sent the coat to their father Jacob by the hand of Naphtali. And they commanded him to say these words, "We had gathered in the cattle, and had come as far as the road to Shechem. And father, when we found this coat upon the road in the wilderness, dipped in blood and in dust, now therefore know whether it be thy son's coat or not." And Naphtali went, and he came unto his father, and he gave him the coat. And he spoke unto him all the words which his brethren had commanded him. And Jacob saw Joseph's coat, and he knew it, and fell upon his face to the ground, and became as still as stone. And afterward he rose up and cried out with a loud weeping voice, and said, "It is the coat of my son Joseph." And Jacob hastened and sent one of his servants to his sons, who went to them, and found them coming along the road with the flock. And the sons of Jacob came to their father about evening, and behold, their garments were torn, and dust was upon their heads, and they found their father crying out and weeping with a loud voice. And Jacob said unto his sons, Tell me truly, what evil have you this day suddenly brought upon me? And they answered their father Jacob, saying, We were coming along this day after the flock had been gathered in, and we came as far as the city of Shechem by the road in the wilderness, and we found this coat filled with blood upon the ground. And we knew it, and we sent unto thee, if thou couldst know it. And Jacob heard the words of his sons, and he cried out with a loud voice, and he said, It is the coat of my son, an evil beast has devoured him, and Joseph is rent in pieces. For I sent him this day to see whether it was well with you, and well with the flocks, and to bring me word again from you. And he went as I commanded him, and this has happened to him this day, whilst I thought my son was with you. And the sons of Jacob answered, and he said, He did not come to us, neither have we seen him from the time of our going out from thee until now. And when Jacob heard their words, he again cried out aloud, and he rose up and tore his garments, and he put sackcloth upon his loins. And he wept bitterly, and he mourned, and he lifted up his voice, weeping, and exclaimed, and said these words, Joseph, my son, O my son Joseph, I sent thee this day after the welfare of thy brethren, and behold, thou hast been torn in pieces. Through my hand has this happened to my son. It grieves me for thee, Joseph, my son. It grieves me for thee. How sweet wast thou to me during life, and now how exceedingly bitter is thy death to me. Oh, that I had died in the stead of Joseph, my son. For it grieves me sadly for thee, my son. Oh, my son, Joseph, my son, where art thou, and where hast thou been drawn? Arouse from thy place, and come and see my grief for thee, O my son Joseph. Come now and number the tears gushing from my eyes down my cheeks, and bring them up before the Lord, that his anger may turn from me. O Joseph, my son, how didst thou fall by the hand of one by whom no one had fallen from the beginning of the world unto this day? For thou hast been put to death by the smiting of an enemy, inflicted with cruelty. But surely I know that this has happened to thee, on account of the multitude of my sins. Arouse now, and see how bitter is my trouble for thee, my son. Although I did not rear thee, nor fashion thee, nor give thee breath to thy soul, breath and soul, but it was God who formed thee, and built thy bones, and covered them with flesh, and breathed in thy nostrils the breath of life, and then he gave thee unto me. Now truly God, who gave thee unto me, has taken thee from me. And such then has befallen thee this day, and all the works of God are good. Even in the death of Joseph. Even in the death of Joseph, he's thanking God. And Jacob continued to speak like unto these words concerning Joseph, and he wept bitterly. And he fell to the ground and became still. And all the sons of Jacob, seeing their father's trouble, they repented of what they had done, and they also wept bitterly. And Judah rose up and lifted his father's head from the ground, and placed it upon his lap. And he wiped his father's tears from his cheeks. And Judah wept an exceeding great weeping, whilst his father's head was reclining upon his lap, still as a stone. And the sons of Jacob saw their father's trouble, and they lifted up their voices and continued to weep. And Jacob was yet lying upon the ground, still as stone. And all his sons and his servants' children rose up, and stood round him to comfort him. But he refused to be comforted. Considering Jacob believes that he was the one who sent Joseph to his death, and that he's the one responsible for Joseph's death, and that it's because of his sins for Joseph's death. And the whole household of Jacob rose up and mourned a great mourning on account of Joseph and their father's trouble. And the intelligence reached Isaac, son of Abraham, the father of Jacob. And he wept bitterly on account of Joseph. And he and all his household, And he went from the place where he dwelt in Hebron, and his men with him, and he comforted Jacob his son. And he refused to be comforted. Wait. The intelligence of Isaac. So Isaac died earlier. And therefore, so the intelligence of Isaac reached the son of Abraham. So the intelligence reached Isaac, the son of Abraham, the father of Jacob. And he went from the place where he dwelt in Hebron and comforted Jacob his son. Wait a minute, didn't Isaac die earlier? So either when did Isaac die? He died earlier. All right. This is really cool. If Joseph can hear the voice of his mother from the ground, then can Isaac be comforting his son from beyond the grave? That is what I want to know. Old Testament, Genesis. Let's go 34. So there's Dinah. Yeah, Isaac dies and is buried by Jacob and Esau. So Jacob and Esau bury at the end of Genesis 35. Then there's genealogy of Esau. Then it goes into Joseph. So that would mean that okay. Oh, there's these war chapters too. Shoot. Maybe I need to go before then. So I can't decide whether it's saying that Isaac, I assumed that Isaac died before this. Yeah, and it was in those days, in the 106th year of the life of Jacob. No, that's Leah dying. Starts into the story of Joseph. I swore he died earlier, but when? God, those big giant fighting war chapters. Okay, well, let's keep going, because I'm just fascinated by this. I'll need to look this up a bit more. But in the end, so a great morning and the father's trouble and the intelligence reached Isaac, son of Abraham, father of Jacob. He wept bitterly, and he comforted Jacob his son, and Jacob refused to be comforted. So apparently even Isaac came. Now, I would have sworn that meant that he was dead. So, okay. After this, Jacob rose up from the ground, and his tears were running down his cheeks. And he said unto his sons, Rise up and take your swords with your bows, and go forth into the field, and seek whether you can find my son's body, and bring it unto me, that I may bury it. Seek also, I pray you, among the beasts, and hunt them, that which shall come first before you. Seize and bring it to me. Perhaps the Lord will this day pity my affliction, and prepare before you that which did tear my son in pieces, and bring it unto me, and I will avenge the cause of my son. And his sons did as their father had commanded them. And they rose up early in the morning, and each took his sword and his bow in his hand, and they went forth into the field to hunt the beasts. And Jacob was still crying aloud and weeping and walking to and fro in his house and smiting his hands together, saying, Joseph, my son, Joseph, my son. And the sons of Jacob went into the wilderness to seize the beasts. And behold, a wolf came toward them, and they seized him and brought him to their father. And they said unto him, This is the first we have found, and we have brought him unto thee as thou didst command us. And thy son's body we could not find. And Jacob took the beast from the hands of his sons, and he cried out with a loud and weeping voice, holding the beast in his hand. And he spoke with a bitter heart unto the beast, Why didst thou devour my son Joseph? And how didst thou have no fear of the God of the earth, or of my trouble for my son Joseph? And thou didst devour my son for naught, because he committed no violence, and didst thereby render me culpable on his account. Therefore God will require him that is persecuted. And the Lord opened the mouth of the beast in order to comfort Jacob with its words. And it answered Jacob, and spoke these words unto him, As God liveth, who created us in the earth, and as thy soul liveth, my Lord, I did not see thy son, neither did I tear him to pieces. But from a distant land I also came to seek my son, who went from me this day, and I know not whether he be living or dead. And I came this day into the field to seek my son, and your sons found me, and seized me, and increased my grief, and have this day brought me before thee, and I have now spoken all my words unto thee. And now therefore, O Son of Man, I am in thy hands, and do unto me this day as it may seem good in thy sight. But by the life of God who created me, I did not see thy son, nor did I tear him to pieces, neither has the flesh of man entered my mouth all the days of my life. And when Jacob heard the words of the beast, he was greatly astonished, and sent forth the beast from his hand, and she went her way. And Jacob was still crying aloud and weeping for Joseph day after day. And he mourned for his son many days. Chapter 44. And the sons of Ishmael, who had bought Joseph from the Midianites, had bought him from his brethren. And he went to Egypt with Joseph. And they came upon the borders of Egypt. And when they came near unto Egypt, they met 4 men of the sons of Midian, the sons of Abraham, who had gone forth from the land of Egypt, on their journeys. Sorry, the sons of Medan, not Midian, Medan. Sons of Medan, the son of Abraham. Okay. And the Ishmaelites said unto them, Do you desire to purchase this slave from us? And they said, Deliver him over to us. And they delivered Joseph over to them. And they beheld him, that he was very comely youth, and they purchased him for 20 shekels. And Joseph's apparently a good-looking young man. He's like 19, 20-ish, that kind of thing. And the Ishmaelites continued their journey to Egypt. And the Midianim also returned that day to Egypt, and Midianim said to each other, Behold, we have heard that Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, seeketh a good servant, who shall stand before him to attend him, and to make him overseer over his house, and all belonging to him. Now therefore come, let us sell to him for what we may desire, if he be able to give unto us that which we shall require for him. And these Midanim went, and it came to the house of the Potiphar, and said unto him, We have heard that thou seekest a good servant to attend thee. Behold, we have a servant that will please thee. If thou canst give unto us that which we may desire, and we will sell him unto thee. And Potiphar said, Bring him before me, and I will see him. And if he please me, I will give unto you that which you may require for him. And the Midianim went and brought Joseph, and placed him before Potiphar. And he saw him, and he pleased him exceedingly. And Potiphar said unto him, Tell me what you require for this youth. And they said, 400 pieces of silver we desire for him. And Potiphar said, I will give it you if you bring me the record of his sale to you, and will tell me his history, for perhaps he may be stolen. For this youth is neither a slave, nor the son of a slave, but I observe in him the appearance of a goodly and handsome person. Okay, so there must be something that marks slaves back then. Now, for example, further forward in, is it Deuteronomy? Deuteronomy or Numbers. There's a section that talks about how do you treat people who are servants or slaves in Israel, and that you can let them go. And the thing is if you have a slave or a servant that wants to stay a slave or a servant, that maybe they have a wife and children that are still slaves and servants, and they don't want to leave them, that they basically deny their freedom, they get their ear pierced. And later on, so completely unrelated to that, and I mean completely unrelated to that, when we were in the Caribbean and going to one of these pirate museums, they talked about how pirates with their pierced ears had the gold rings on them. That was their burial money, right? So if they died, someone could pay for their burial with that ring that's in their ear. So I sit here and wonder, between, now the reason they're completely different, but they bring up the same section of my mind. Not only does it have to do with piercings, but it has to do with the idea of how do you pay for different things? How do you take care of the cost of living and dying in this world, depending on your station in life? And so it's an interesting thought. So I'm sitting here thinking, this guy isn't marked in any way as a slave. And so he's like, you better tell me where he came from. So, yeah. And the Midianim went and brought unto him the Ishmaelites who had sold him to them. And they told him, saying, he is a slave, and we sold him to them. And Potiphar heard the words of the Ishmaelites in his giving the silver unto Midianim. And the Midianim took the silver and went on their journey. And the Ishmaelites also returned home. So, by him being layered as a slave, it's basically money laundering, but with Joseph's life in this case, right? Oh, he was a slave. Yeah, he was a slave. So the original ones who are like, yeah, we bought him from his brothers, they're not even around. And they're like, okay, this is trouble, so let's give him to these guys. And they're like, okay, this guy's nothing but trouble. Let's give him to these guys. And they're like, well, so having this two-layer thing makes sense so that Potiphar is not, it can get past his suspicions, I guess is the best way to put it. And Potiphar took Joseph and brought him to his house, and he might serve him. And Joseph found favor in the sight of Potiphar, and he placed confidence in him, and he made him overseer over his house. And all that belonged to him he delivered over into his hand. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he became a prosperous man. And the Lord blessed the house of Potiphar for the sake of Joseph. And Potiphar left all that he had in the hands of Joseph, and Joseph was one that caused things to come in and go out. And everything was regulated by his wish in the house of Potiphar. So he was good at buying and trading, it sounds like. At least a little bit. And Joseph was 18 years old. Aha! So, he is a young man. And a youth with beautiful eyes and of comely appearance, and like unto him was not in the whole land of Egypt. So he was unique. Ha-da-da-da. And at that time, whilst he was in his master's house, going in and out of the house, and attending his master, Zilekah, his master's wife, I did not know she had that name. Zilekah, his master's wife, lifted up her eyes toward Joseph, and she looked at him, and behold, he was a youth, comely and well-favored, and exotic. And she coveted his beauty in her heart. And her soul was fixed upon Joseph, and she enticed him day after day. And Zilekah persuaded Joseph daily, but Joseph did not lift up his eyes to behold his master's wife. And Zilekah said unto him, How goodly are thy appearance and form! Truly I have looked at all the slaves, and have not seen so beautiful a slave as thou art. And Joseph said unto her, Surely he who created me in my mother's womb created all mankind. And she said unto him, How beautiful are thine eyes, which thou hast dazzled all the inhabitants of Egypt, men and women. And he said unto her, How beautiful how beautiful they are, whilst we are alive. What shouldst thou behold them in the grave? Surely thou wouldst move away from them. And she said unto him, How beautiful and pleasing are all thy words. Take now, I pray thee, the harp which is in the house, and play with thy hands, and let us hear thy words. And he said unto her, How beautiful and pleasing are my words, when I speak the praise of my God, and his glory. And she said unto him, How very beautiful is the hair of thy head. Behold, the golden comb which is in the house. Take it, I pray thee, and curl the hair of thy head. And he said unto her, How long wilt thou speak these words? Cease to utter these words to me, and rise and attend to thy domestic affairs. And she said unto him, There is no one in my house, and there is nothing to attend to, but to thy words and to thy wish. Yet, notwithstanding all this, she could not bring Joseph unto her, neither did he place his eye upon her, but directed his eyes below the ground. And Zelicah desired Joseph in her heart, that he should lie with her. And at the time that Joseph was sitting in the house doing his work, Zelicah came and sat before him, and she enticed him daily with her discourse to lie with her, or even look at her. But Joseph would not hearken to her. And she said unto him, If thou wilt not do according to my words, I will chastise thee with punishment of death, and put an iron yoke upon thee. And Joseph said unto her, Surely God, who created man, looseth the fetters of prisoners, and it is he who will deliver me from thy prison and from thy judgment. And when she... Dude. Okay. I'm enjoying this story more than the one in Genesis. This is good. This is good stuff. This is really, really good stuff. Not only does it show how to avoid temptation. Don't look at it. Don't even have it enter your thoughts. Have your thoughts be on God. Have your replies be on God. Have your eyes be even below the ground. And, oh, well, God will deliver me from prison. And when she could not prevail over him to persuade him, and her soul being still fixed upon him, her desire threw her into a grievous sickness. And all the women of Egypt came to visit her, and they said unto her, Why art thou in this declining state, thou that lackest nothing? Surely thy husband is a great and esteemed prince in the sight of the king. Shouldst thou lack anything of what thy heart desireth? And Zelicah answered them, saying This day it shall be made known unto you, whence this disorder springs in which you see me. And she commanded her maidservants to prepare food for all the women, and she made a banquet for them. And all the women ate in the house of Zelicah. And she gave them knives to peel the citrons, to eat them. Okay, what is a citron? It sounds like citrus. So is it an orange? I'm very curious. Citron. Citron. No? Citron. It is a species of citrus plant. The citron is Citrus medica, is a large, fragrant citrus fruit, thick, coarse rind. It resembles a lemon, but it is larger, and it is one of the original citrus fruits from which all other citrus types developed through natural hybrid speciation or artificial hybridization. So this is a citron. Oh, let's see. Hopefully I can get less glare, but yeah. Looks like a large, bumpy lemon. But wow, that's cool. Okay. And she commanded them that they should dress Joseph in costly garments, that he should appear before them. And Joseph came before their eyes, and all the women looked on Joseph and could not take their eyes from him. And they all cut their hands with the knives that they had in their hands, and all the citrons that were in their hands filled with blood. Okay. And they knew not what they had done, but they continued to look at the beauty of Joseph and did not turn their eyes from him. Like, it doesn't matter. I cut my hand. Oh, well. It doesn't matter. Lemon juice in there doesn't matter. But they continued to look at the beauty of Joseph and did not turn their eyelids from him. And Zelicah saw what they had done. And she said to them, "What is this work that you have done? Behold, I gave you citrons to eat, and you have all cut your hands." And all the women saw their hands, and behold, they were full of blood, and their blood flowed down upon their garments. And they said unto her, "This slave in your house has overcome us, and we could not turn our eyelids from him on account of his beauty." And she said unto him, "Surely this has happened to you in the moment that you looked at him, and you could not contain yourself from him. How then can I refrain when he is constantly in my house, and I see him day after day going in and out of my house? How then can I keep from declining or even perishing on account of this?" And they said to her, "The words are true, for who can see this beautiful form in the house and refrain from him? And is he not thy slave and attendant in thy house? And why dost thou now tell him that which is in thy heart, and sufferest thy soul to perish through this matter?" And she said unto them, "I am daily endeavoring to persuade him, and he will not consent to my wishes. And I promised him everything that is good, and yet I could meet with no return from him. I am therefore in a declining state, as you see." Wow. Jeez. And Zelicah became very ill on the account of her desire toward Joseph, and she was desperately love-struck on account of him. And all the people of the house of Zelicah and her husband knew nothing of this matter, that Zelicah was ill on account of her love of Joseph. And all the people of her house asked her, saying, "Why art thou ill and declining, and lackest nothing?" And she said unto them, "I know not this thing which is daily increasing upon me." She doesn't want to tell her husband, or have her husband get word of it. Yeah. Don't have an adulterous heart. Please don't. And all the women and her friends came daily to see her, and they spoke with her, and she said unto them, "This can only be through the love of Joseph." And they said unto her, "Entice him and seize him secretly." Okay, these are not good friends. "Perhaps he may hearken to thee, and put off this death from thee." Okay, they're affirming her lust towards Joseph. They are affirming her in her bad choices. They are encouraging her to do worse things. Surround yourself with good people. Make sure they give ear to you in good and appropriate ways and are willing to say, "No, this isn't good. You're married and you have everything. Don't throw it away to some slave." And Zelicah became worse from her love to Joseph, and she continued to decline till she had scarce strength to stand. And on a certain day Joseph was doing his master's work in the house, and Zelicah came secretly and fell suddenly upon him. And Joseph rose up against her, and he was more powerful than she, and he brought her down to the ground. And Zelicah wept on account of the desire of her heart toward him. She supplicated him with weeping, and her tears flowed down her cheeks, and she spoke unto him in a voice of supplication and in bitterness of soul, saying, "Hast thou ever heard or seen or known of so beautiful a woman as I am, or better than myself, who speak daily unto thee, fall into a decline through love for thee, confer all this honor upon thee, and still thou wilt not hearken to my voice? And if it be through the fear of thy master, lest he punish thee, as the king liveth, no harm shall come to thee from my master through this thing. Now therefore pray, listen to me, and consent for the sake of the honor which I have conferred upon thee, and put off this death from me. And why should I die for thy sake?" And she ceased to speak. And Joseph answered her, saying, "Refrain from me, and leave this matter to my master. Behold, my master knoweth not what there is with me in the house. For all that belongeth to him he has delivered into my hand. And how shall I do these things in my master's house? For he hath also greatly honored me in his house, and he hath also made me overseer over his house, and he hath exalted me. And there is no one greater in this house than I am, and my master hath refrained nothing from me, excepting thee, who art his wife. How then canst thou speak these words unto me? And how can I do this great evil and sin to God and to thy husband? Now therefore refrain from me, and speak no more such words as thee, for I will not hearken to thy words. But Zelicah would not hearken to Joseph when he spoke these words unto her, but she daily enticed him to listen to her. And it was after this that the brook of Egypt was filled above all its sides, and all the inhabitants of Egypt went forth. And also the king and princes went forth with timbrels and dances, for it was a great rejoicing in Egypt, and a holiday at the time of the inundation of the sea, Sihor, and of the sea Sihor, 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 and they went there to rejoice all the day. And when the Egyptians went out to the river to rejoice, as was their custom, all people in the house of Potiphar went with them. But Zelicah would not go with them, for she said, I am indisposed. And she remained alone in the house, and no other person was with her in the house. And she rose up and ascended to her temple in the house, and dressed herself in princely garments. And she placed upon her head precious stones of onyx, inlaid with silver and gold, and she beautified her face and skin with all sorts of women's purifying liquids. And she perfumed the temple and the house with cassia and frankincense, and she spread myrrh and aloes, and afterwards sat in the entrance of the temple, in the passage of the house, through which Joseph passed to do his work. And behold, Joseph came from the field, and entered the house to do his master's work. And he came to the place through which he had to pass, and saw all the work of Zelicah, and he turned back. Smart guy. He's like, oh no, this is a trap. And Zelicah saw Joseph turning back from her, and she called out to him, saying, What aileth thee, Joseph? Come to thy work, and behold, I will make room for thee until thou shalt have passed to thy seat. And Joseph returned and came to the house, and passed from thence to the place of his seat, and he sat down to do his master's work as usual. And behold, Zelicah came to him, and stood before him in princely garments, and the scent from her clothes was spread to a distance. And she hastened and caught hold of Joseph and his garments. And she said unto him, As the king liveth, if thou wilt not perform my request, thou shalt die this day. And she hastened and stretched forth her other hand, and drew a sword from beneath her garments. And she placed it upon Joseph's neck. And she said, Rise and perform my request, and if not, thou diest this day. And Joseph was afraid of her at doing this thing, and he rose up to flee from her, and she seized the front of his garments. And in the terror of his flight, the garment which Zelicah seized was torn. And Joseph left the garment in the hand of Zelicah, and he fled and got out, for he was in fear. All right, she had gone from being lovesick to stalker to now. Yeah. And when Zelicah saw that Joseph's garment was torn, and that he left it in her hand, and had fled, she was afraid of her life, lest the report should spread concerning her. Here it comes. And she rose up and acted with cunning, and put off the garments in which she was dressed. And she put on her other garments. And she took Joseph's garment, and she laid it beside her, and she went and seated herself in the place where she had sat in her illness, before the people of her house had gone out to the river. And she called a young lad who was then in the house. She ordered him to call the people of her house to her. And when she saw them, she said to them with a loud voice and lamentation, See what a Hebrew your master has brought to me in this house, for he came this day to lie with me. Speaking of lying, for she has to cover her sin. For when you had gone out, he came to the house, and seeing that there was no person in the house, he came unto me and caught hold of me with intent to lie with me. And I seized his garments, and tore them, and called out against him with a loud voice. When I had lifted up my voice, he was afraid of his life, and left his garment before me, and fled. Yeah, he was afraid for his life. But, yeah, not because of... And the people of her house spoke nothing, but their wrath was very much kindled against Joseph. And they went to his master and told him the words of his wife. And Potiphar came home enraged. And his wife cried out to him, saying, What is this thing that thou hast done unto me to bring... what is this that thou hast done unto me in bringing a Hebrew servant into my house? For he came unto me this day to sport with me. Thus did he do unto me this day. And Potiphar heard the words of his wife, and he ordered Joseph to be punished with severe stripes. And they did so to him. And whilst they were smiting him, Joseph called out with a loud voice, and he lifted up his eyes to heaven. And he said, O Lord God, thou knowest that I am innocent of all these things. And why shall I die this day through falsehood, by the hand of these uncircumcised wicked men, whom thou knowest? And whilst Potiphar's men were beating Joseph, he continued to cry out and weep. And there was a child there, 11 months old. And the Lord opened the mouth of the child. And he spake these words before Potiphar's men, who were smiting Joseph, saying, What do you want of this man? And why do you do this evil unto him? My mother speaketh falsely, and uttereth lies. Thus was the transaction. And the child told them accurately all that happened, and all the words of Zelicah to Joseph day after day did he declare unto them. And the men heard the words of the child, and they wondered greatly at the child's words. And the child ceased to speak, and became still. And as Potiphar was very much ashamed at the words of his son, and he commanded his men not to beat Joseph any more, and the men ceased beating Joseph. And Potiphar took Joseph, and ordered him to be brought to justice before the priests, who were the judges belonging to the king, in order to judge him concerning this affair. And Potiphar and Joseph came before the priests, who were the king's judges, and he said unto them, Decide, I pray you, what judgment is due to a servant, for thus has he done. And the priest said unto Joseph, Why didst thou do this thing to thy master? And Joseph answered them, saying, Not so, my lords. Thus was the matter. And Potiphar said unto Joseph, Surely I entrusted in thy hands all that belonged to me, and I withheld nothing from thee but my wife. And how couldst thou do this evil? And Joseph answered, saying, Not so, my lord. As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, my lord, the word which thou didst hear from thy wife is untrue, for thus was the affair of this day. A year has elapsed to me since I have been in thy house. Hast thou seen any iniquity in me, or anything which might cause thee to demand my life? And the priest said unto Potiphar, Send, we pray thee, and let them bring before us Joseph's torn garment, and let us see the tear in it. And if it shall be that this tear is in the front of the garment, then his face must have been opposite to her, and she must have caught hold of him to come to her. And with deceit did thy wife do all that she has spoken. And they brought Joseph's garment before the priests, who were judges, and they saw, and behold, the tear was in front of Joseph. And all the judging priests knew that she had pressed him. And they said, The judgment of death is not due to this slave, for he has done nothing, but his judgment is that he be placed in the prison house on account of the report, which through him has gone forth against thy wife. And Potiphar heard their words, and he placed him in the prison house, and the place where the king's prisoners are confined. And Joseph was in the house of confinement 12 years. And not so he goes to prison because of a false accusation, even though they know it's false. Now, there's two ways to look at this. You could say that this is an unfair justice system, and it's horrible, and I can't believe they're treating Joseph this way. Or you can look at it from Potiphar's perspective and the wife's perspective, which is, you are a chief soldier to the army of Pharaoh. You are in a prominent position, and your wife is the one who did this. You don't want Joseph in your house again. This is going to be nothing but trouble. put him in this prison house because all of the community has heard what your wife has said. You don't. So, because look, if Joseph was brought back, then one of two things is going to happen. Either that said, because the community knows it, it means that the community is going to sit here and think that, well, I guess everything's okay in that house, and rumors are going to spread that way. Or, what are you going to do with your wife? Or, there's just all sorts of bad that is going to happen. So, in a way, it's a protection for Joseph. It's a protection for Potiphar. It gets the wife away from Joseph completely. And the community, in some ways, it covers what the community knows because of the wife spreading the false accusation, which is, again, a very horrific thing to do, is the woman spreading lies far and wide before truth can get out. So, what does this mean? I think they're trying to use their judgment that let's do what people expect. Okay? Because of the lie of your wife, the community expects that he is punished. Put him in the prison. We know it's not true. He doesn't deserve death, and he hasn't done anything wrong. I think it's just to appease the situation. Is it just? No. It's not just. Are false accusations ever punished? Truly. And notwithstanding this, his master's wife did not turn from him. Oh my gosh. And she did not cease from speaking to him day after day to hearken to her. And at the end of 3 months, Zelicah continued going to Joseph to the house of confinement day by day. And she enticed him to hearken to her. 3 more months! Dude, okay. I hope Joseph never let anything into his heart about her. I'm glad he filled it with replies about God. I hope he practiced them day and night. And then after what she had done to him, I would hope his heart is steeled against her. I don't see how. Like, look, if you're sitting there just like white knuckling yourself with this experience at first and just focusing on the Lord, after a time, hopefully your heart becomes a little bit embittered and going, look, I can't believe I have to deal with this. I don't want to lie with Zelicah. I don't want to be near her. This is nothing but trouble. And so it becomes a place of fear and anxiety. And then she literally tries to take you by force at the tip of a sword, then falsely accuses you to the entire community, followed by which you start getting beaten. Then a child of 11 months, not even a year old, tells the truth about what's happening, and then you're imprisoned just to placate the situation. I would be so upset at her coming. I would hope that the other half of having God with him would be not only to deny the temptation, but to deny the pain, the suffering, and the anger that I would have at this point. Holy crap. So 3 months, Zelicah continued going to Joseph, to the house of confinement day by day, and she enticed him to hearken to her. And Zelicah said unto Joseph, How long wilt thou remain in this house? But hearken now to my voice, and I will bring thee out of this house. And Joseph answered her, saying, It is better for me to remain in this house than to hearken to thy words, to sin against God. And she said unto him, If thou wilt not perform my wish, I will pluck out thine eyes, add fetters to thy feet, and will deliver thee into the hands of them who thou didst not know before. And Joseph answered her and said, Behold, the God of the whole earth is able to deliver me from all that thou canst do unto me. For he openeth the eyes of the blind, and looseth those that are bound, and preserveth all strangers who are unacquainted with the land. This is why I love this story. I don't care if this is embellishment, I don't care. This is the good stuff. And when Zelicah was unable to persuade Joseph to hearken to her, she left off going to entice him, and Joseph was still confined in the house of confinement. And Jacob the father of Joseph and all his brethren who were in the land of Canaan still mourned and wept in those days on account of Joseph. For Jacob refused to be comforted for his son Joseph, and Jacob cried aloud and wept and mourned all those days. All right. Wow. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care how embellished it is. I don't care how accurate it is. That is the kind of story that we need. That is the kind of story that shows this is how you avoid temptation. This is how you reply in these situations. Where else do you get a manual for, I'm going to pluck out your eyes if you do this? The Lord can make the blind to see. He can deliver me from this. I mean, this is what I love. We need more of this. We need more of this. 100%. This. If I could read anything and add this into Genesis, I would. Holy cow. What a freaking good story. I'm sorry. It is needed. Not only does it tell you how to avoid sin, but it's the attitude that you have towards confinement. It's the attitude towards everything. Yeah. Come here. Come see the people. Instead of having your backside to them. Fine. Anyway. That's the other thing that it does is it shows how to be faithful when faced with death and danger and oppression and other things like that. The ability to stay calm and believe. Oh, we need more of that. It's that kind of thing that we need. That direct instruction, those direct stories. I love it. So, okay, I need to stop gushing over it. It's that good. But I hope this serves you well. I hope with whatever you're facing, whether it be temptation or pain or anger, that, like Joseph, whatever you're suffering from, temptation, anger, betrayal, sickness, etc., I hope you can find faith in the same way that Joseph shows faith. I hope this is used as a good example in your life to uplift you and to show that allegiance to God, who loves you, who formed you, who has given you all in his life. And may God be with you and his Spirit always guide you. We'll see you.